Hello everyone, this is Darion GNB here, and welcome to another GNB discussion. 4 months late, but I do in fact have something to say about this show. I'm in the middle of writing my script for my full-on review, and it could be a pretty lengthy one, but I wanted to quickly chuck this out here while I'm getting all my October videos in order. With the new stuff we've seen from Season 2 recently, I think now's a good time for me to get out my expectations for Season 2. I'll briefly go over my thoughts on Season 1. I'm one of the few freaks on the internet that doesn't think it's the biggest piece of dog shit. When it premiered, it was safe to say it was relatively controversial, with a lot of people on both sides thinking it's either great or dog shit. But in the following months, it's kind of just been relegated to the internet's punching bag, or mainly the DMC fan community's punching bag. But me personally, I thought the show was alright. It has its myriad of issues with the writing, dialogue, and story. The animation quality varied from time to time. Some of the liberties it takes as an adaptation work, but other times feel very poorly executed. But as a whole, I think it was just a decent show. If any of y'all have seen my video on the OG Madhouse DMC anime, I feel about the same way about that show as I do with Netflix DMC, but I'll go more in detail with my actual review. Today I want to pose a question that's been on my mind since I finished the first season all those months ago. Will the next season suck? There's a lot to go into with this because when it initially premiered, I thought Season 2 had the potential to be leagues ahead of Season 1. If they took the time to consider people's criticisms and feedback, we'd be in for some peak DMC shit. That hope was however squandered when not only did they confirm Season 2 within like 2 days after the show premiered, 2 weeks after it premiered they released a music video that would show off almost completely finished footage from Season 2. And that's when my hopes started to diminish. At that point, I knew we were in trouble. And by we, I mean the people who haven't given up on this show yet. It seems Netflix is doing its typical Netflix thing. For those who don't know, Netflix has developed this track record for animated projects, where they'll greenlight a number of episodes to be made and just release those episodes in separate chunks and label them as seasons. They did this with the Cuphead show, they did this with Sonic Prime, and now they're doing it with Devil May Cry. Season 2 isn't even Season 2, it's just more of Season 1, which can honestly make or break the show for me. It being more of Season 1 means I'll get more of what I like, the cool action, the decent character writing and storytelling, but I'll also get just as much, if not more, of what I didn't like. The forced political subtext, the very poor writing choices with at times very juvenile dialogue, potentially more missteps with the characterization of game characters. That's honestly a big concern for me because this season seems very heavily centered around Virgil. And I'm going to be honest and say I'm not really excited to see Virgil in this show, and it's not for the reasons a majority of other people aren't excited. I really don't mind Robbie Daymond as Virgil. Obviously, I much prefer the kind of tone and direction we have with Dan Southworth, but I think so far, it works well enough for what it is. The design as well doesn't bother me too much either. In fact, none of the designs in this show I think are that bad, but this is really just a standard Virgil look to me. The thing that makes me not excited for Virgil is how he was set up in Season 1. The very fact that they changed the moment where Sparta's family were attacked by demons, by having Virgil with Dante and Eva, automatically takes away so much of what makes Virgil interesting. So much of his character and his story is tied to the trauma of thinking he was abandoned. His want for power throughout the series is brought upon by the fact that his demonic power is what saved him that day and nothing else. Not his mother or his brother, and he carries that with him throughout all his life, and it leads him to doing some pretty messed up stuff. Automatically, I'm not interested or hyped for this Virgil because so much of what makes him interesting is already just not there. And I know with that line of thinking, you'd assume I'd hate him working for Mundus as well, but right now I kinda don't. I don't want to go too in depth with my thought process just yet, but all I'll say is that Season 1 toyed around with the idea of broken people like Mary being manipulated into fighting a war they otherwise probably wouldn't be a part of, so I wouldn't be shocked if they're doing something similar with Virgil. It really just depends on what they do with him because I do find it interesting that they made it so Dante literally saw him die, as opposed to the games where the twins just assumed the other had died. So if Dante saw Virgil die here, I wonder what they're going to do with that. Hell, I might as well give what few little thoughts I have on the newest trailer. The first thing that stuck out to me with all the footage from Season 2 is Dante's look. Even though I'm someone who likes Dante's design from Season 1, I'm absolutely pissed he didn't look like this from the start. I love how they go with a little DMC1 inspiration with the turtleneck, and the longer hair just looks sick as fuck. The thing I'm a little back and forth on is the sweater itself. The snippets we saw in the music video had a very basic gray looking sweater, but now it seems they've added these lines to it and I don't know how to feel about it. I think it looks cool, almost like a mummy wrap kind of vibe. In some shots it looks cool, but in other shots it just looks weird and off. Based on those snippets from the music video and the new trailer, it appears Nell Goldstein will play a role in the season. This is also another thing that has me concerned, because if they don't adapt or at least allude to Nell potentially posing as a mother figure for Dante, it'll unironically be this show's biggest fumble for me. Dante's connection with Nell is just too interesting of a story beat to not utilize in this adaptation. And it'll also put proper spotlight, if done correctly, on a relatively niche part of this franchise that has some significance to Dante's journey. Considering that Shankar was pretty attentive about not giving Dante Ebony and Ivory until he met Nell, maybe there's hope he'll do her right, but honestly, I don't think it's worth crossing your fingers for. Mary appears to have a beret. I'm assuming maybe because she's gotten some kind of higher ranking at Darkcom. Speaking of which, when we saw those snippets in the music video, I was expecting the story to be about Mary maybe going rogue against Darkcom to help Dante stop Virgil or something like that. But with them meeting with Arius, and who I'm assuming is a secretary, it seems like Dante is going to be begrudgingly working with them to defeat Virgil. Which I guess can be cool. It'll be interesting to see what kind of conflict Dante could have with them, if they even choose to go that route. Because if he's just working with them without a second thought, with the fact that they literally have Makai prisoners and refugees, that'll be pretty goddamn stupid. Virgil kicking ass looks pretty cool. The little sneak peek of the Dante and Virgil fight looks alright, but the specific shot they ended on just did nothing for me. It just lacks some sauce and just looks a little basic, but that's just me. So I guess to end off the video, I'll ask again, will Netflix DMC Season 2 suck? It has a very high chance to, yes. But I'm going to, foolishly, cling on to the hope that, at the very least, even if it won't make me turn around and start glazing the hell out of it, it'll at least give me some decent DMC content to consume. With that said, if you agree or disagree with what I've said, let me know in the comments. This has been Darion GNB. Take care.